Shalom, Ashbeka. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel, Tina Alishaba. I pray all is well and that you've been resting in Yahuah and just growing in your walk with Yah. This is a daily walk to live set apart, to be Yashari, as as in respect to what we've been reading in the Cepher of Yashar, is to be upright, to live set apart. And we've been reading of examples of forefathers that have done that. So in light of everything, we are going to be picking back up in the Cepher of Yashar, or also known as the book of Jasher, and we'll be reading chapters 16 through 20. And if you haven't read the previous chapters with me, you can find them in the playlist under the Cepher of Yashar, and either read along with me today or start back and catch up with me, and just enjoy this book and let it renew your mind and just show you how Yahuah wants you to learn how to walk with him. So without further ado, if you haven't already, grab your Cepher to follow along. Now let's get started. Chapter 16. Kedorlaomer, king of Elam at that time, sent to all the neighboring kings, to Nimrod, king of Shinar, who was then under his power, and to Tidal, king of nations, and to Arioch, king of Elakar, with whom he cut a covenant, saying, Come up to me and assist me, that we may smite all the towns of Sodom and its inhabitants, for they have rebelled against me these 13 years. And these 4 kings went up with all their camps, about 800,000 men, and they went as they were, and smote every man they found in their road. And the 5 kings of Sodom and Amorah, Shinav, king of Admah, Shemever, king of Zevayim, Bera, king of Sodom, Bersha, king of Amorah, and Bela, king of Zor, went out to meet them, and they all joined together in the valley of Cedom. And these 9 kings made war in the valley of Cedom. And the kings of Sodom and Amorah were smitten before the kings of Elam. And the valley of Cedom was full of lime pits, and the kings of Elam pursued the kings of Sodom, and the kings of Sodom with their camps fled and fell into the lime pits. And all that remained went to the mountain for safety. And the 5 kings of Elam came after them and pursued them to the gates of Sodom. And they took all that there was in Sodom. And they plundered all the cities of Sodom and Amorah. And they also took Lot, Abraham's brother's son, and his property, and they seized all the goods of the cities of Sodom, and they went away. And eunuch, Avram's servant, was in the battle, saw this, and told Avram all that the kings had done to the cities of Sodom, and that Lot was taken captive by them. And Avram heard this, and he rose up with about 318 men that were with him. And he went that night, pursued these kings, and smote them, and they all fell before Avram and his men. And there was none remaining but the 4 kings who fled, and they went each his own road. And Avram recovered all the property of Sodom, and he also recovered Lot and his property, his women and little ones, and all belonging to him, so that Lot lacked nothing. And when he returned from smiting these kings, he and his men passed the valley of Cedom, where the kings had made war together. And Bera, king of Sodom, and the rest of his men that were with him, went out from the lime pits into which they had fallen to meet Avram and his men. And Adoni-Sedek, king of Yerushalayim, the same was Shem, went out with his men to meet Avram and his people with bread and wine, and they remained together in the valley of Melech. And Adoni-Zedek blessed Avram, and Avram gave him 1/10 from all that he had brought from the spoil of his enemies. For Adoni-Zedek was a priest before Yahuah. And all the kings of Cedom and Amorah who were there with their servants approached Avram and begged of him to return them, their servants who he had made captive, and to take unto himself all the property. And Avram answered the kings of Sodom, saying, As Yahuah lives, who created heaven and earth, and who redeemed my soul from all affliction, and who delivered me this day from my enemies, and gave them into my hand, I will not take anything belonging to you, that you may not boast tomorrow, saying, Avram became rich from our property that he saved. For Yahuah, in whom I trust, said unto me, You shall lack nothing, for I will bless you in all the works of your hands. And now therefore, behold, here is all belonging to you. Take it and go. As Yahuah lives, I will not take from you from a living soul down to a shoe tie or thread, excepting the expense of the food of those who went out with me to battle, as also the portions of the men who went with me, Anar, Ashkol, and Mamre, they and their men, as well as those also who had remained to watch the baggage. They shall take their portion of the spoil. And the kings of Sodom gave Avram according to all that he had said, and they pressed him to take of whatsoever he chose, but he would not. And he sent away the kings of Sodom and the remainder of their men, and he gave them orders about Lot. And they went to their respective places. And Lot, his brother's son, he also sent away with his property, and he went with them. And Lot returned to his home, to Sodom, and Avram and his people returned to their home, to the plains of Mamre, which is in Kevron. At that time Yahuah again appeared to Avram in Kevron, and he said to him, Do not fear, your reward is very great before me, for I will not leave you until I shall have multiplied you, and blessed you, and made your seed like the stars in heaven, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And I will give unto your seed all these lands that you see with your eyes. To them will I give them for an inheritance forever. Only be strong, and do not fear. Walk before me, and be perfect. And in the 78th year of the life of Avram, in that year died Ru, the son of Peleg, and all the days of Ru were 239 years, and he died. And Sarai, the daughter of Haran, Avram's woman, was still barren in those days. She did not bear to Avram either son or daughter. And when she saw that she bore no children, she took her handmaid Hagar, whom Pharaoh had given her, and she gave her to Avram her man for a woman. For Hagar learned all the ways of Sarai, as Sarai taught her. She was not in any way deficient in following her good ways. And Sarai said to Avram, Behold, here is my handmaid Hagar. Go to her, that she may bring forth upon my knees, that I may also obtain children through her. And at the end of 10 years of Avram's dwelling in the land of Canaan, which is the 85th year of Avram's life, Sarai gave Hagar unto him. And Avram hearkened to the voice of his woman Sarai, and he took his handmaid Hagar, and Avram came to her, and she conceived. And when Hagar saw that she had conceived, she rejoiced greatly, and her mistress was despised in her eyes. And she said within herself, This can only be that I am better before Yahuah than Sarai my mistress. For all the days that my mistress has been with my Adoni, she did not conceive. But me Yahuah has caused in so short a time to conceive by him. And when Sarai saw that Hagar had conceived by Avram, Sarai was jealous of her handmaid. And Sarai said within herself, This is surely nothing else, but that she must be better than I am. And Sarai said unto Avram, My wrong be upon you. For at the time when you did pray before Yahuah for children, why did you not pray on my account, that Yahuah should give me seed from you? And when I speak to Hagar in your presence, she despises my words. because she has conceived, and you will say nothing to her. May Yahuah judge between me and you for what you have done to me. And Avram said to Sarai, Behold, your handmaid is in your hand. Do unto her as it may seem good in your eyes. And Sarai afflicted her, and Hagar fled from her to the wilderness. And an angel of Yahuah found her in the place where she had fled, by a well. And he said to her, Do not fear, for I will multiply your seed. For you shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Yishmael. Now then return to Sarai your mistress, and submit yourself under her hands. And Hagar called the place of that well Beer Lachai Roi. It is between Kadesh and the wilderness of Berad. And Hagar at that time returned to her Adonai's house, and at the end of days Hagar bore a son to Avram, and Avram called his name Yishmael, and Avram was 86 years old when he begat him. Chapter 17. And in those days, in the 91st year of the life of Avram, the children of Cedom made war with the children of Tubal. For when Yahuah had scattered the sons of men upon the face of the earth, the children of Cedom went and embodied themselves in the plain of Canopiah, and they built themselves cities there, and dwelt by the river Tibru. And the children of Tubal dwelt in Tuscanah, and their boundaries reached the river of Tibru. And the children of Tubal built a city in Tuscanah, and they called the name Sabinah, after the name of Sabinah son of Tubal, their father, and they dwelt there unto this day. And it was at the time that the children of Cedom made war with the children of Tubal, and the children of Tubal were smitten before the children of Cedom. And the children of Cedom caused 370 men to fall from the children of Tubal. And at that time the children of Tubal swore to the children of Cedom, saying, You shall not intermarry among us, and no man shall give his daughter to any of the sons of Cedom. For all the daughters of Tubal were in those days fair, for no women were then found in the whole earth so fair as the daughters of Tubal. And all who delighted in the beauty of women went to the daughters of Tubal and took women from them. And the sons of men, kings and princes, who were greatly delighted in the beauty of women, took women in those days from the daughters of Tubal. And at the end of 3 years, after the children of Tubal had sworn to the children of Cedom not to give them their daughters for women, about 20 men of the children of Cedom went to take some of the daughters of Tubal, but they found none. For the children of Tubal kept their oaths not to intermarry with them, and they would not break their oaths. And in the days of harvest the children of Tubal went into their fields to get in their harvest, when the young men of Cedom assembled and went to the city of Sabinah, and each man took a young woman from the daughters of Tubal, and they came to their cities. And the children of Tubal heard of it, and they went to make war with them. And they could not prevail over them, for the mountain was exceedingly high from them. And when they saw they could not prevail over them, they returned to their land. And at the revolution of the year, the children of Tubal went and hired about 10,000 men from those cities that were near them, and they went to war with the children of Cedom. And the children of Tubal went to war with the children of Cedom, to destroy their land and to distress them. And in this engagement the children of Tubal prevailed over the children of Cedom. And the children of Cedom, seeing that they were greatly distressed, lifted up the children which they had by the daughters of Tubal upon the wall which had been built, to be before the eyes of the children of Tubal. And the children of Cedom said to them, Have you come to make war with your own sons and daughters? And have we not been considered your flesh and bones from that time till now? And when the children of Tubal heard this, they ceased to make war with the children of Cedom, and they went away. And they returned to their cities. And the children of Cedom at that time assembled and built 2 cities by the sea. And they called one Pertu, and the other Arizah. And Avram the son of Terach was then 99 years old. At that time Yahuah appeared to him, and he said to him, I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will greatly multiply your seed. And this is the covenant which I make between me and you, that every male child be circumcised, you and your seed after you. At 8 days old shall it be circumcised, and this covenant shall be made in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And now therefore your name shall no more be Avram, but Avraham, and your woman shall no more be called Sarai, but Sarah. For I will bless you both, and I will multiply your seed after you, that you shall become a great nation, and kings shall come forth from you. Chapter 18. And Avram rose and did all that Yahuah had ordered him. And he took the men of his household and those bought with money, and he circumcised them as Yahuah had commanded him. And there was not one left whom he did not circumcise. And Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised in the flesh of their foreskin. 13 years old was Ishmael when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And in the 3rd day Abraham went out of his tent and sat at the door to enjoy the heat of the sun during the pain of his flesh. And Yahuah appeared to him in the plain of Mamre, and sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him. And he was sitting at the door of the tent, and he lifted his eyes and saw, and lo, 3 men were coming from a distance, and he rose up and ran to meet them, and he bowed down to them and brought them into his house. And he said to them, If now I have found favor in your sight, turn in and eat a morsel of bread. And he pressed them. And they turned in, and he gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he placed them under a tree at the door of his tent. And Avram ran and took a calf, tender and good, and he hastened to kill it, and he gave it to his servant Eliezer to dress. And Avram came to Sarah into the tent, and he said to her, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes to cover the pot containing the meat. And she did so. And Abraham hastened and brought before them butter and milk, beef and mutton, and gave it before them to eat, before the flesh of the calf was sufficiently done. And they did eat. And when they had done eating, one of them said to him, I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah your woman shall have a son. And the men afterward departed and went their ways to the places to which they were sent. In those days all the people of Sodom and Amorah and of the whole 5 cities were exceedingly wicked and sinful against Yahuah. And they provoked Yahuah with their abominations, and they strengthened in aging abominably and scornfully before Yahuah. And their wickedness and crimes were in those days great before Yahuah. And they had in their land a very extensive valley, about half a day's walk, and in it there were fountains of water, and a great deal of herbage surrounding the water. And all the people of Sodom and Amorah went there 4 times in the year, with their women and children and all belonging to them, and they rejoiced there with timbrels and dances. And in the time of rejoicing they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' women, and some the virgin daughters of their neighbors, and they enjoyed them. Each man saw his woman and daughter in the hands of his neighbor, and did not say a word. And they did so from morning to night. And they afterward returned home, each man to his house, and each woman to her tent. So they always did 4 times in the year. Also, when a stranger came into their cities, and brought goods which he had purchased with a view to dispose of there, the people of these cities would assemble, men, women, and children, young and old, and go to the man and take his goods by force, giving a little to each man until there was an end to all the goods of the owner which he had brought into the land. And if the owner of the goods quarreled with them, saying, What is this work which you have done to me? Then they would approach to him one by one, and each would show him the little which he took, and taunt him, saying, I only took that little which you did give me. And when he heard this from them all, he would arise and go from them in sorrow and bitterness of soul, when they would all rise and go after him, and drive him out of the city with great noise and tumult. And there was a man from the country of Elam, who was leisurely going on the road, seated upon his ass, which carried a fine mantle of diverse colors. And the mantle was bound with a cord upon the ass. And the man was on his journey, passing through the street of Sodom, when the sun set in the evening, and he remained there in order to abide during the night. But no one would let him into his house. And at that time there was in Sodom a wicked and mischievous man, one skillful to do evil, and his name was Hadad. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the traveler in the street of the city. And he came to him and said, Whence come you, and whither do you go? And the man said to him, I am traveling from Kevram to Elam, where I belong. And as I passed, the sun set, and no one would suffer me to enter his house, though I had bread and water, and also straw and provender for my ass, and I am short of nothing. And Hadad answered and said to him, All that you shall want shall be supplied by me, but in the street you shall not abide all night. And Hadad brought him to his house, and he took off the mantle from the ass with the cord, and brought them to his house, and gave the ass straw and provender, while the traveler ate and drank in Hadad's house, and he abode there that night. And in the morning the traveler rose up early to continue his journey, when Hadad said to him, Wait, comfort your heart with a morsel of bread, and then go. And the man did so, and he remained with him, and they both ate and drank together during the day, when the man rose up to go. And Hadad said to him, Behold, now the day is declining. You had better remain all night, that your heart may be comforted. And he pressed him so that he tarried there all night. And on the second day he rose up early to go away, when Hadad pressed him, saying, Comfort your heart with a morsel of bread, and then go. And he remained and ate with him also the second day. And then the man rose up to continue his journey. And Hadad said to him, Behold, now the day is declining. Remain with me to comfort your heart, and in the morning rise up early and go your way. And the man would not remain, but rose and saddled his ass. And while he was saddling his ass, the woman of Hadad said to her man, Behold, this man has remained with us for 2 days eating and drinking, and he has given us nothing. And now shall he go away from us without giving anything? And Hadad said to her, Be silent. And the man saddled his ass to go, and he asked Hadad to give him the cord and mantle to tie upon the ass. And Hadad said to him, What say you? And he said to him, That you, my Adonai, shall give me the cord and the mantle made with diverse colors, which you did conceal with you in your house to take care of it. And Hadad answered the man, saying, This is the interpretation of your dream. The cord which you did see means that your life will be lengthened out like a cord, and having seen the mantle colored with all sorts of colors, means that you shall have a vineyard in which you shall plant trees of all fruits. And the traveler answered, saying, Not so, my Adonai, for I was awake when I gave you the cord, and also a mantle woven with different colors, which you did take off the ass to put them by for me. And Hadad answered and said, Surely I have told you the interpretation of your dream, and it is a good dream, and this is the interpretation thereof. Now the sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver, which is my charge for interpreting dreams, and of you only I require 3 pieces of silver. And the man was provoked at the words of Hadad, and he cried bitterly, and he brought Hadad to Sirach, judge of Sodom. And the man laid his cause before Sirach the judge. When Hadad replied, saying, "It is not so, but thus the matter stands." And the judge said to the traveler, "This man Hadad tells you truth, for he is famed in the cities for the accurate interpretation of dreams." And the man cried at the word of the judge, and he said, "Not so, my Adoni, for it was in the day that I gave him the cord and mantle which was upon the ass, in order to put them by in his house. And they both disputed before the judge, the one saying thus the matter was, and the other declaring otherwise." And Hadad said to the man, "Give me 4 pieces of silver that I charge for my interpretation of dreams. I will not make any allowance, and give me the expense of the 4 meals that you did eat in my house." And the man said to Hadad, "Truly, I will pay you for what I ate in your house. Only give me the cord and mantle which you did conceal in your house." And Hadad replied before the judge and said to the man, "Did I not tell you the interpretation of your dream? The cord means that your days shall be prolonged like a cord, and the mantle that you will have a vineyard in which you will plant all kinds of fruit trees. This is the proper interpretation of your dream. Now give me the 4 pieces of silver that I require as compensation, for I will make you no allowance." And the man cried at the words of Hadad, and they both quarreled before the judge. And the judge gave orders to his servants, whom drove them rashly from the house. And they went away quarreling from the judge. When the people of Sodom heard them, they gathered about them, and they exclaimed against the stranger, and they drove him rashly from the city. And the man continued his journey upon his ass with bitterness of soul, lamenting and weeping. And while he was going along, he wept at what had happened to him in the corrupt city of Cedom. Chapter 19. And the cities of Sodom had 4 judges to 4 cities, and these were their names: Sirach in the city of Sodom, Shakad in Amorah, Zavnak in Admah, and Manan in Zavim. And Eliezer, Avram's servant, applied to them different names, and he converted Sirach to Shakra, and Shakra to Shakrarah, Zavnak to Kezovim, and Manan to Matsladin. And by desire of their 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Amorah had beds erected in the streets of the cities. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of their beds, and by force made him to lie in them. And as he lay down, 3 men would stand at his head and 3 men at his feet, and measure him by the length of the bed. And if the man was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him at each end. And when he cried out to them, they would not answer him. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together the 2 sides of the bed at each end, until the man had reached the gates of death. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him, saying, "Thus shall it be done to a man that comes into our land." And when men heard all these things that the people of the cities of Sodom did, they refrained from coming there. And when a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold, and cause a proclamation in the whole city not to give him a morsel of bread to eat. And if the stranger should remain there some days, and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death all the people of the city would come and take their silver and gold which they had given him. And those that could recognize the silver or gold which they had given him took it back. And at his death they also stripped him of his garments, that they would fight about them. And he that prevailed over his neighbor took them. They would after that carry him and bury him under some of the shrubs in the deserts. So they did all the days to anyone that came to them and died in their land. In the course of time, Sarah sent Eliezer to Sodom to see Lot and inquire after his welfare. And Eliezer went to Sodom, and he met a man of Sodom fighting with a stranger. And the man of Sodom stripped the poor man of all his clothes and went away. And this poor man cried to Eliezer and supplicated his favor on account of what the man of Sodom had done to him. And he said to him, Why do you act thus to the poor man who came to your land? And the man of Sodom answered Eliezer, saying, Is this man your brother? Or have the people of Sodom made you a judge this day, that you speak about this man? And Eliezer strove with the man of Sodom on account of the poor man. And when Eliezer approached to recover the poor man's clothes from the man of Sodom, he hastened and with a stone smote Eliezer in the forehead. And the blood flowed copiously from Eliezer's forehead. And when the man saw the blood, he caught hold of Eliezer, saying, Give me my hire for having rid you of this bad blood that was in your forehead, for such is the custom and the law in our land. And Eliezer said to him, You have wounded me and require me to pay you hire? And Eliezer would not hearken to the words of the man of Sodom. And the man laid hold of Eliezer and brought him to Shachra, the judge of Sodom, for judgment. And the man spoke to the judge, saying, I beseech you, my Adoni, thus has this man done. For I smote him with a stone, that the blood flowed from his forehead, and he is unwilling to give me my hire. And the judge said to Eliezer, This man speaks truth to you. Give him his hire, for this is the custom in our land. And Eliezer heard the words of the judge, and he lifted up a stone and smote the judge, and the stone struck on his forehead, and the blood flowed copiously from the forehead of the judge. And Eliezer said, If this then is the custom in your land, give you unto this man what I should have given him. For this has been your decision. You did decree it. And Eliezer left the man of Sodom with the judge, and he went away. And when the kings of Elam had made war with the kings of Sodom, the kings of Elam captured all the property of Sodom, and they took Lot captive with his property. And when it was told to Abraham, he went and made war with the kings of Elam, and he recovered from their hands all the property of Lot as well as the property of Sodom. At that time the woman of Lot bore him a daughter, and he called her name Paltith, saying, Because Yahuah has delivered him and his whole household from the kings of Elam. And Paltith, daughter of Lot, grew up, and one of the men of Sodom took her for a woman. And a poor man came into the city to seek a maintenance, and he remained in the city some days. And all the people of Sodom caused a proclamation of their custom not to give this man a morsel of bread to eat until he dropped dead upon the earth. And they did so. And Paltith, the daughter of Lot, saw this man lying in the streets, starved with hunger, and no one would give him anything to keep him alive. And he was just upon the point of death. And her soul was filled with pity on the account of the man, and she fed him secretly with bread for many days, and the soul of this man was revived. For when she went forth to fetch water, she would put the bread in the water pitcher, and when she came to the place where the poor man was, she took the bread from the pitcher and gave it to him to eat. So she did many days. And all the people of Sodom and Amorah wondered how this man could bear starvation for so many days. And they said to each other, This can only be that he eats and drinks, for no man could bear starvation for so many days, or live as this man has, without even his countenance changing. And 3 men concealed themselves in a place where the poor man was stationed, to know who it was that brought him bread to eat. And Paltith, daughter of Lot, went forth that day to fetch water, and she put bread into her pitcher of water, and she went to draw water by the poor man's place. And she took out the bread from the pitcher and gave it to the poor man, and he ate it. And the 3 men saw what Paltith did to the poor man, and they said to her, Is it you, then, who has supported him? Therefore he has not starved, nor changed in appearance, nor died like the rest. And the 3 men went out of the place in which they were concealed. They seized Bereshiyth and the bread which was in the poor man's hand. And they took Bereshiyth and brought her before the judges. And they said to him, Thus did she do, and it is she who has supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore did he not die all this time? Now therefore declare to us the punishment due to this woman for having transgressed our law. And the people of Sodom and Amorah assembled and kindled a fire in the street of the city. And they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. And in the city of Admah there was a woman to whom they did the like. For a traveler came into the city of Admah to abide there all night, with the intention of going home in the morning. And he sat opposite the door of the house of the young woman's father, to remain there, as the sun had set when he had reached that place. And the young woman saw him sitting by the door of the house. And he asked her for a drink of water. And she said to him, Who are you? And he said to her, I was this day going on the road, and reached here when the sun set. So I will abide here all night, and in the morning I will arise early and continue my journey. And the young woman went into the house and fetched the man bread and water to eat and drink. And this affair became known to the people of Admah, and they assembled and brought the woman before the judges, that they should judge her for this act. And the judge said, The judgment of death must pass upon this woman, because she has transgressed our law. And this, therefore, is the decision concerning her. And the people of those cities assembled and brought out the young woman, and anointed her with honey from her head to foot, as the judge had decreed. And they placed her before a swarm of bees, which were then in their hives. And the bees flew upon her and stung her, that her whole body was swelled. And the young woman cried out on account of the bees, but no one took notice of her or pitied her, and her cries ascended to heaven. And Yahuah was provoked at this, and at all the works of the cities of Sodom, for they had an abundance of food, and had tranquility amongst them, and still would not sustain the poor and the needy. And in those days their evil doings and sins became great before Yahuah. And Yahuah sent for 2 of the angels that had come to Abraham's house to destroy Sodom and its cities. And the angels rose up from the door to Abraham's tent, after they had eaten and drunk, and they reached Sodom in the evening. And Lot was then sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when he saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed down to the ground. And he pressed them greatly, and brought them into his house. And he gave them victuals, which they ate, and they abode all night in his house. And the angel said to Lot, Arise, go forth from this place, you and all belonging to you, lest you be consumed in the iniquity of this city, for Yahuah will destroy this place. And the angels laid hold upon the hand of Lot, and upon the hand of his woman, and upon the hands of his children, and all belonging to him. And they brought him forth, and set him without the cities. And they said to Lot, Escape for your life. And he fled, and all belonging to him. Then Yahuah rained upon Sodom, and upon Amorah, and upon all these cities, brimstone and fire from Yahuah out of heaven. And he overthrew these cities, all the circle of the Yarden, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. And Ado, the woman of Lot, looked back to see the destruction of the cities, for her compassion was moved on account of her daughters who remained in Sodom, for they did not go with her. And when she looked back, she became a pillar of salt, and it is yet in that place until this day. And the oxen which stood in that place daily licked up the salt to the extremities of their feet. And in the morning it would spring forth afresh, and they again licked it up unto this day. And Lot and 2 of his daughters that remained with him fled and escaped to the cave of Adullam, and they remained there for some time. And Abram rose up early in the morning to see what had been done to the cities of Sodom. And he looked and beheld the smoke of the cities going up like the smoke of a furnace. And Lot and his 2 daughters remained in the cave. And they made their father drink wine, and they lay with him. For they said, there was no man upon the earth that could raise up seed from them, for they thought that the whole earth was destroyed. And they both lay with their father, and they conceived and bore sons. And the firstborn called the name of her son Moab, saying, from my father did I conceive him. He is the father of the Moabim unto this day. And the younger also called her son Ben-Ammi. He is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. And after this, Lot and his 2 daughters went away from there, and he dwelt on the other side of the Yarden with his 2 daughters and their sons. And the sons of Lot grew up, and they went and took themselves women from the land of Canaan. And they begot children, and they were fruitful and multiplied. Chapter 20. And at that time Abraham journeyed from the plain of Mamre, and he went to the land of the Palestine, and he dwelt in Gerar. It was in the 25th year of Abraham's being in the land of Canaan, and the 100th year of the life of Abraham, that he came to Gerar in the land of the Palestine. And when they entered the land, he said to Sarah his woman, say you are my sister to anyone that shall ask you, in order that we may escape the evil of the inhabitants of the land. And as Abraham was dwelling in the land of the Palestine, the servants of Abimelech, king of the Palestine, saw that Sarah was exceedingly beautiful, and they asked Abraham concerning her. And he said, she is my sister. And the servants of Abimelech went to Abimelech, saying, a man from the land of Canaan is come to dwell in the land, that he has a sister that is exceeding fair. And Abimelech heard the words of his servants who praised Sarah to him. And Abimelech sent his officers, and they brought Sarah to the king. And Sarah came to the house of Abimelech, and the king saw that Sarah was beautiful, and she pleased him exceedingly. And he approached her and said to her, what is that man to you with whom you did come to our land? And Sarah answered and said, he is my brother, and we came from the land of Canaan to dwell wherever we could find a place. And Abimelech said to Sarah, behold, my land is before you. Place your brother in any part of this land that pleases you, and it will be our duty to exalt and elevate him above all the people of the land, since he is your brother. And Abimelech sent for Abraham, and Abraham came to Abimelech. And Abimelech said to Abraham, behold, I have given orders that you shall be honored as you desire on account of your sister Sarah. And Abraham went forth from the king, and the king's present followed him. As at evening time, before men lie down to rest, the king was sitting upon his throne, and a deep sleep fell upon him. And he lay upon the throne and slept till morning. And he dreamed that an angel of Yahuah came to him with a drawn sword in his hand, and that the angel stood over Abimelech and wished to slay him with the sword. And the king was terrified in his dream, and said to the angel, in what have I sinned against you that you come to slay me with your sword? And the angel answered and said to Abimelech, behold, you die on account of the woman which you did yesternight bring to your house. For she is a married woman, the woman of Abraham, whom came to your house. Now therefore return that man his woman, for she is his woman. And should you not return her, know that you will surely die, you and all belonging to you. And on that night there was a great outcry in the land of the Palestine. And the inhabitants of the land saw the figure of a man with a drawn sword in his hand. And he smote the inhabitants of the land with the sword. Yes, he continued to smite them. And the angel of Yahuah smote the whole land of the Palestine on that night. And there was a great confusion on that night and on the following morning. And every womb was closed, and all their issues, and the hand of Yahuah was upon them on account of Sarah. woman of Abraham, whom Abimelech had taken. And in the morning Abimelech rose with terror and confusion and with a great dread. And he sent and had his servants called in, and he related his dream to them. And the people were greatly afraid. And one man standing amongst the servants of the king answered the king, saying, O sovereign king, restore this woman to her man, for he is her man. For the like happened to the king of Mitzrayim when this man came to Mitzrayim. And he said concerning his woman, She is my sister, for such is his manner of doing when he comes to dwell in the land which he is a stranger. And Pharaoh sent and took this woman for a woman, and Yahuah brought upon him grievous plagues until he returned the woman to her man. Now therefore, O sovereign king, know what happened yesternight to the whole land. For there was a very great consternation and great pain and lamentation, and we know that it was on account of the woman which you did take. Now therefore restore this woman to her man, lest it should befall us as it did to Pharaoh king of Mitzrayim and his subjects, and that we may not die. And Abimelech hastened and called and had Sarah called for her, and she came before him. And he had Abraham called for her, and he came before him. And Abimelech said to them, What is this work you have been doing in saying you are brother and sister? And I took this woman for a woman. And Abraham said, Because I thought I should suffer death on account of my woman. And Abimelech took flocks and herds and menservants and maidservants and 1,000 pieces of silver, and he gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah to him. And Abimelech said to Abraham, Behold, the whole land is before you. Dwell in it wherever you shall choose. And Abraham and Sarah his woman went forth from the king's presence with honor and respect, and they dwelled in the land, even in Gerar. And all the inhabitants of the land of the Bereshiyth and the king's servants were still in pain, through the plague which the angel had afflicted upon them the whole night on account of Sarah. And Abimelech sent for Abraham, saying, Pray now for your servants to Yahuah, that he may put away this mortality from among us. And Abraham prayed on account of Abimelech and his subjects, and Yahuah heard the prayer of Abraham, and he healed Abimelech and all his subjects. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Yahuah. This concludes the reading of Yashar chapters 16 through 20. I pray that it has been a blessing to you and that you have received much revelation from it. I'm just going to give a few takeaways since this obviously was a very long reading. But specifically in chapter 16, I thought it was interesting, and maybe this is just me. Chapter 16, verse 33, that Sarah afflicted Hagar for despising her and disrespecting her in front of Abram. So I can only imagine, and forgive me for saying it this way, but the beatdown that just happened as a result of being disrespectful to your mistress. And I'm going to leave it at that. And moving forward, what stands out, chapter 18, verse 3, what I love about that is it gives you the backstory to Abraham sitting outside of his tent when he saw the angels of Yahuah, the messengers coming forth, as we see or we've read in Genesis or Bereshiyth, chapter 18. But obviously 17 and 18 in that book covers all that. But so again, go back. Again, this is Yashar 18:3, and the backstory is in Genesis or Bereshiyth, chapters 17 and 18, but 18 specific. And then we get a few verses down in 18, verses 14 to 15. There is nothing new under the sun. And today, as we read of the Sodom, the people of Sodom sharing their women with their neighbors and even their virgin daughters, and they're sharing each other's spouses, if you will. The modern day term for that is swingers. So again, nothing new under the sun, and it's just even crazy. Today it happens more than we realize. Lastly, by the time we get to chapter 19, we get a whole account of the wickedness of Sodom. In Genesis or Bereshiyth, more so the backstory there is just the homosexuality that's going on there, and how they were beating down Lot's door to get to the messengers that Lot had in his house, so they can know them or lie with them. But chapter 19 gives much more of a deeper story of the wickedness, wicked behavior, wicked judgment, their wicked laws, and how they treated strangers that came into their land. And even by the time we get to verse 44, how they treated the poor and needy. They had an abundance of resources, and they still chose to let people stay poor and needy, and specifically die in their cities. And ultimately, what I appreciate about Yashar, this chapter, is it gives us the whole story, or just the whole big picture of why Yah decided to destroy Sodom and Amorah, and why we know about that account from Genesis, because of just sheer wickedness of these cities. So hallelujah. But if you've got any other revelation, or even want to comment to what I've even pointed out, please do so. We're here to sharpen each other. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And as I mentioned when I started out opening this video, that if you haven't read the previous chapters, you can find it, the book of Jasher, or Cepher of Yashar, in the playlist, amongst other books or Sepharim that I have read since I started the channel. Again, the word tells you in Tehillim or Psalms chapter 1, and even in the book of Joshua or Yahusha chapter 1, to meditate on Yahuah's word day and night. And again, it's good for renewing the mind. So as I have the opportunity to post, continuing on reading in the book of Yashar, feel free to listen to other chapters or other books, Sepharim, that I have read, to continue in your walk with Yahuah, and growing and knowing his ways and renewing your mind daily. And those that have been rocking with me, y'all bless you, y'all rock you, love you. Appreciate your support and your comments. And forgive me for those of you that have messaged me. If I have not responded, I've just been a lot going on, but know that I am going to get back to you, and that I appreciate your support in this journey. So if you haven't already, please share, like, or subscribe. Anei ahabata mashpaka. I love you, family. Yahuah barakata. Yahuah bless you. Shalom.